Hi, welcome to Straight Talk with Julien Wray. We had an awesome time with Susan Mintz, acclaimed author, writer, speaker.
I'm great, virus-free and very healthy.
Who is Susan Mintz?
I am going to be a 74-year-old senior citizen, and I feel like I'm just beginning my life in many ways. A new chapter.
Interesting you said chapter, because you are an author. Some of those things matriculate into real life. So what chapter do you feel you're in now?
I think I'm in the middle of it. I think that my book, if it was 24 chapters, which they are, most of my books are 24 chapters, I would say that I'm probably at around 17 or 18, maybe three quarters. But I know that the end of it is going to be more powerful than the beginning. So the latter day will be more powerful than the former. Because all your experiences, all my experiences, challenges, obstacles, have taken me to where I am. So I'm grateful because I've grown through my life, into my life as I know it today, and accept my life because I've grown through it. I feel like I'm at the most important and critical time in my life to help people.
And let's go into that right now. What are some things that, over the years, that you have found that you would like to be an advocate for and have been an advocate for?
Well, having been involved with HIV/AIDS, but mostly we talk about HIV now, I'm a huge proponent yet for testing, for medication, for early intervention, and for people who have insurance, make sure they keep their insurance and they're not cut off from the medications that are out there. So I'm definitely still very actively involved with HIV, and I will be till the day I die, because until this thing goes away, it took my life, it took my husband's life, so it became a part of my life forever. I'm a hospice advocate. Hospice came in and helped me during a very rough time with Jeff being ill, and after that I went to volunteer with them because they were terrific. And I don't think hospice gets the recognition, the appreciation, or the publicity for the good works they do to save lives. Even though you're passing, they let you make the choice and give you a quality of life to pass. So I think that's wonderfully important. So I love hospice. I'm also for the legalization of marijuana, having been a stoner since I was 21, though I've given it up the last couple of years only because certain conditions have warranted that I can't find the kind of stuff I want, and I don't trust what's out there. But don't tell me that marijuana isn't the miracle cure for almost everything. So I'm a very big proponent of legalization across the states, the feds to handle it, the banks to handle it, charge it, put it on your credit cards, and smoke your head off. And especially these things, I put on my Twitter page, smint7179 if you want to go to it. I put, if I have to hashtag stay home, I'm going to hashtag stay stoned.
Wow, okay. That could be...
Though I'm not living up to that, I think it might be wise for people, rather than alcohol or opium or other drugs and heroin, just try plain old marijuana. It'll calm you down.
We shared some interesting conversations off camera, but on camera we talked about Committed to Love, also Hospice Heart, and now we're going through a pandemic, COVID-19 coronavirus. What are some things that you can see that's similar with the same pandemic you talk about in your book, Committed to Love?
Fear, panic. When you put your head down on the pillow at night, you think, is it me? Is it what? How? When? It was very frightening.
You wrote two books, and they're placed behind Committed to Love is the first book, and our second book was Hospice Heart. Let's talk about Committed to Love first, and then we're going to Hospice Heart.
I was married to a wonderful man. I was 22. Wonderful, wonderful man. And I got pregnant, and we got married, then I lost the baby, and 4 months later he tells me he thinks he's bisexual. And after that, you can imagine what the marriage was like, though it was incredible. I miss him, I loved him, but it was up and down. I think what I loved about my marriage was my husband lived life to the fullest. He was like a tsunami of husbands. I mean, everything was great and big and 5-star, and I just went along. All he wanted me to do was show up on time, look good, and love her. Forgot my birthday. He was an incredible man whom I'm still in love with 25 years after his passing. But I did get many STDs because he was a homosexual, he was bisexual, so I got many STDs, but they were okay. I mean, you get them cured, you take antibiotics, or you're fine. Genital herpes, you take antiviral now for genital herpes, so the world can know, yes, I have genital herpes, but I've had it for 30, 40 years. But in 1981, when we lived in Houston, he was a very successful doctor, when he heard about AIDS, the gay man's disease, that was the first time I heard God speak to me. And his voice was crystal clear. I ran into the bathroom and I was vomiting because I knew it hit me so hard. I mean, AIDS, this was the gay man's disease, and it was killing hundreds and thousands of men who were at a high risk, and they didn't know a thing about it. But that day, when I heard it on the news, I was vomiting, and I heard God say to stay with this man and love him more than ever, because he's going to need you more than ever later on. Jeffrey came home, and I looked at him and I said, I can't change you, and I'll never divorce you or leave you. You want to leave me, that'll be your choice for someone else. And we just became an abstinent sexual relationship. He continued being promiscuous. I knew most of his partners. I knew that he would never have left me, because I was through all the degrees, the trip. I mean, we were best friends. We were a team. So the team would never have broken up. He was positive and I was the negative, and together we just clicked, you know. So in 81, we made that decision, and we continued. We did everything else but have a sexual relationship. They found out 4 years later that it truly was sexually transmitted. They were beginning to get a handle on it, but it wasn't until 10 years later, when they started with the medications, that truly could help. And so in 1992, Jeffrey started getting ill, and he was very ill with pneumonia. Put him in the hospital over at West Boca Med, and that they were all gloved up like they are now with the pandemic. I mean, that's what was so frightening, is I see this magnificent man who's got 105 fever, and actually just defecating on the floor as all these people were gloved up and bagged up and treating him like he was a leper. And what happened was there was just a little pad of paper near the phone, and God told me to start writing.
Wow.
I started to write. The next day I went and picked up half a dozen spiral-bound journals. I documented every single day of his illness for over 2 years. And I incorporated my life through it in 15 journals that I have. They're like the Dead Sea Scrolls in the closet. And then in 1998, I started putting that together in this book. It was a spiral bound. The publisher came along, self-published. That was the route to go. So I self-published, and there it became this Committed to Love, 24 chapters of a journey about a woman who loved a man so deeply and so desperately that she would never have left, and he would never have left me. But how a vicious virus took his life and the lives of thousands and thousands, and 40 years later, I'm still involved with it. I am 100% fine, and I know that this book will help and touch millions of lives around the world, because though it's about heartbreak and sadness and cruel, and there's anger, rage, there's every emotion, I kind of compare it to the book of Psalms and the book of Proverbs all together. As you read it, you may have to put the first couple chapters down, but by the end of it, and to see the pictures of Jeff and I, the smiles, what we'd come through in 25 years, you'd see the woman today who would say, I have no regrets, I would do it all over again, and I'd give up everything I have to spend one more day with this wonderful man who really just died way before his time. The biggest thing I fear for today is that people are going to lose their jobs and their insurance. And if you can't continue on your medications and you have to go through health departments or apply for it through other assistants, and you live maybe in a rural area, not near a health department, I think the system was not built for people who don't have access to assistance. So I'm very concerned about people losing their jobs, or the government at some point stopping pre-existing conditions. And they always want to, whether they say they don't or not. This administration, and I am political, this administration wants to get rid of Obamacare and pre-existing conditions. So for me, I say no, because if you don't think HIV is a pre-existing condition, then you don't have a head on your brain and the brain in your head. So I'm very political.
How was the transition going from your spiral journals into sitting down and saying, okay, let me compile my notes and formulate it into a book?
I was depressed. It was in 1998. I was really depressed. My parents were aging. I just was very sad. It was 4 years after he passed. So my next door neighbor, who I was very close with, where I lived the other house, she came over one day and I was really crying. I was a mess. And she said, "What's going on?" And I said, I'm depressed. And I said, "I don't know what to do next." She says, "Why don't you write your book?" But the book, it ended up 2 years later into the one large spiral bound book, which you'll see later in my other books that I haven't published. I hadn't published yet. And it came together. And then it was just a process of knowing the timing. It took me till 2000 to do it. And then this big thing just sat on a shelf, and I heard God say in 2007 to go for the copyright. So it's been a journey. I thought, overnight success. This thing's gonna hit all over the place. And then, not really. Not timing yet. God's timing's perfect, but it wasn't for me. But I have the product. I have my life. And I have my life in a book that's available. And in this book is every emotion you'll feel, everything you are gonna go through in life. It may not be HIV, but honey, you're gonna deal with stuff. And at my age, I can tell you, you're gonna deal with a lot of stuff to get to be my age. And you're not gonna like it, and it's not gonna be pretty, and it's gonna push you to breaking points. But don't, because that's where your faith will kick in. If it wasn't God guiding me all the way through my life to be my age and have what I have, I never would have made it. And if anybody says they don't believe in God, fine, don't. But if you don't think you've had faith along the way, you believed in something, honey.
So you went from Committed to Love. You said you were depressed writing that. How do you segue into your next book? Let me grab that book for you. Put this back. How do you go from Committed to Love to Hospice Heart? Talk to me about that.
Oh, I always thought then once I saw this one in print, that this was really the best. Because I volunteered after hospice came. For 3 months they came and helped me in the house, because Jeffrey didn't want to pass in the house. Though people want to, it's a very challenging thing. But we had no children, we didn't have any other responsibilities, so I was able to devote my entire life to Jeffrey when he was ill. And having had the experience as a hygienist and always been medically savvy and loving medicine, I really do, I love the medical field, I was able to care for him until we made the decision that he wouldn't go back in the hospital a third time. After he passed, I took a year off. And then in 95, I got involved with hospice and went through their training program and became an 11th hour volunteer, which means you can be with people at the end stage of life, truly within 24 hours usually of them passing. So I would go on Monday nights and Thursday nights and weekends and holidays and at the care center, and I found more life in hospice than I did outside because the hope that was there, and though the families were going through hell on earth, I mean the tragedy, I would just sit in a room with a patient who 2 hours later might have passed. But for me, it was an incredibly empowering and joyous situation that person could be in a facility where they were respected, where they were cared for with dignity, that they had the end of their life, not even just comfortable and palliative care. And I was able to be with so many people when they passed. That's why this book came along, because I documented people who were going through the same things, the woman who wouldn't eat, the man who loved the chocolate chip cookies, the person who, when I went in, there was a little dog drinking wine out of a thing with 2 sisters. So this book is extremely powerful, because if you are going through someone's passing, or the son who flew in and had a lousy relationship with his father, hadn't seen his father in decades, but he flew in the pouring rain to see his father at the very end. You'll see the bad and you'll see the best when you go through something like that.